Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Cameron. This is Ultralight Outdoors. I really appreciate you guys stopping by my channel. So, like 2 years ago, I was tagged by a channel out in West Texas named Chuco Hiker. I think that's his legal given name. And he tagged me in a video about 5 beginner backpacking tips, and I have never gotten around to it. I'm sure the guy thinks I'm a jerk, but here it is, 2 years later. Here are Ultralight Outdoors 5 beginner backpacking tips. So, tip number one is start out with easy, low mileage trips in a place that you may be familiar with. I know it's super easy whenever you get started to go down the YouTube rabbit hole and see awesome videos of through hikes on the Pacific Crest Trail. You see people out there in the Wind River Range and Grand Canyon and things like that. There are some amazing places out there, but start with a low mileage, easy trip. Maybe go somewhere that you're familiar with. I know around here where I'm at in Texas, we have lots of great state parks, and they're not like super wild experiences, but there are places you can get away from people, get that backpacking experience, and you're only hiking in anywhere between 1 to 5 miles. So you get the backpacking primitive experience without getting actually way out there. So it lets you start in and learn some of your backpacking skills while still feeling the safety and ease of being close to the car if something were to go wrong. Get some experience under your belt, start easy, and start enjoying your backpacking experiences. All right, so tip number two has to do with food, and this one kind of includes a lot of stuff, but for your first backpacking trip or your first few trips, I highly suggest eat things you like already. Eat things you know, and try these foods at home before you get out there. You don't want to get out there and be doing super complex meals of things you've never had before. You're going to be tired from your hike. You're going to be tired from setting up your tent and learning how to set up all your gear and use all your gear. Use easy meals that you already know how to make, things you would eat at home, whether it's potatoes or ramen or any sort of pasta side, rice, pinto beans. You don't even have to cook. Do easy things that are going to be good, tasty meals that you know you already like those foods whenever you get out there. I highly suggest only boiling water for your food. So if you're going to cook, do easy meals where you just boil water. That is super simple. It's going to make your first few trips really simple. Then after you get to know your gear, you get to know how much mileage you can do each day. You know how you feel at the end of the day. You know what kind of stuff your body's going to crave at the end of the day. Then move on to other sorts of meals. If you want to cook or add a little bit more into it, that's the time to start sprinkling that kind of stuff in. Whether it is the kind of freeze-dried meals you can buy at like a Walmart or anything like that, or it is a freezer bag cooking where you're adding your stuff into a freezer bag and adding water to it, or even like an oatmeal packet that you just pour water into. Super simple stuff. Keep your food simple on your first few trips whenever you're getting into backpacking. My next tip is don't compare yourself to YouTube through hikers. I know that is super easy to do, and that's how a lot of new backpackers get into backpacking and hear about backpacking is they see a video of Dixie or Darwin or Jupiter or any of these big name hikers on YouTube. Some of them have great channels, some of them are really great people, and it's super easy to think, man, I would love to through hike, and that's a great aspiration to have. I think almost anybody who gets into backpacking would love to do some sort of through hike or big hike like that. Don't think that's what you have to do right off the bat. So don't think you have to be sub 10 pounds, ultralight backpacker, doing 30 miles a day, just crushing it out there on these crazy trips way out in the middle of nowhere. You don't have to do that. There are tons of backpackers who never do any sort of through hike, who don't do any hikes or trips over a couple nights at a time, and that is totally fine. The through hiking world is a very niche part of the backpacking community. It's a great part. I love watching those videos. You love watching those videos. But just don't think that that's what everybody does just because that's the biggest part of what's on YouTube. There are tons of great trips all around the country and the world. There's stuff close to you. There's stuff across the country. There are tons of great backpacking trips that are 1 night, 2 night, 3 night. I love taking short trips, and that's what I can personally get in on my schedule. And if that's all you can get in, go do those. Just get out there. Tons of other opportunities out there, and I think you'll be way happier if you lower your expectations just a little bit, get to know your gear and what you're into, Then if you want to do that through hike, keep practicing and then try it out. Tip number 4 is don't waste your money on a bunch of backpacking gear for your first few trips. Sure, there are things you absolutely have to have, but there are things you don't absolutely have to have, and you're not going to know what kind of stuff you're into, and you will waste a ton of money. Ask me how I know. Ask everybody how they know, because that's what people do whenever they get into backpacking. We go buy a ton of gear, and then we realize, oh, I don't like that. I like a hammock. I don't like tents. Or I thought this tarp was going to be cool because that's what I saw somebody do, but it's horrible. Sleeping pads. Do I need a thick air mattress? Do I need a little foam pad? You're going to figure all that stuff out. Don't go waste all your money on a ton of backpacking gear right off the bat. Especially don't go buy a ton of cheap gear, because you're going to end up replacing all of that stuff if you end up liking backpacking. And don't go buy a ton of expensive gear, because you may hate backpacking and then you wasted a ton of money. Sure, there are things you need to spend money on. You're going to need some sort of shelter. You're going to need a decent sleeping bag. But there are things you don't need to waste money on. You need a bowl, you need a spoon, you need some sort of cup. Take that stuff from home. You don't need a special cup, bowl, spoon, things like that. There are tons of things. You don't need special clothes. You can roll out there in what you already have. Is it going to be super ideal? No. There are definitely awesome pieces of gear out there, and that's why we all buy them and consume them and things like that. But there are easy ways to get on trail with things you already have that you can save money on. Don't go waste your money on every single piece of backpacking gear. My final tip is don't go out and buy a ton of gear just because you see people on YouTube telling you need that gear. YouTubers know that gear reviews make tons of views and tons of money, and that is the reason a lot of people are putting out gear reviews, is they are receiving this gear for free. They're receiving some sort of compensation from the companies, and I don't think that's terrible. YouTube is a ton of work. The people that create videos should reap some sort of benefits. Totally fine. Just you as a consumer and as a new backpacker, just know just because a lot of people are saying this gear is awesome doesn't mean it's actually awesome, or they actually use it, or that you should go buy it. A lot of times they're receiving that gear for free, and then they're telling you should use it. And if you're seeing 10 different YouTube channels put out the same video of the same gear all at the same time, a lot of times that means that they're receiving that gear for free. Like I said, not hating on anybody on YouTube. That is the way the game is played. Just know, as a consumer, as a new backpacker, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the gear you need. Do more research, look around online, go to these websites, go to REI or any other place, read the reviews of real world people who are not just promoting things on YouTube, and think about how that gear will fit into your whole gear system and how it goes with it. Just because, like, say maybe a sleeping bag, a 0 degree bag, like, oh man, I need that. That's what everybody's saying. This is the best one, 0 degree, 950 fill. And you have a summer sleeping pad. Like, those don't pair well together. That's not going to keep you warm. Or you have some, everybody's saying get this tiny little frameless backpack. And you have a winter loadout with tons of loft and big high volume gear. It's not going to work well together. So think about how your gear choices are going to work together. You need to do your research before you buy stuff. Just because you see it on YouTube being promoted by lots of people doesn't mean it's an awesome piece of gear. Well, guys, that's my 5 beginner backpacking tips. I really appreciate that guy Chuco Hiker for tagging me in this video 2 years ago. And sorry, I'm just now getting around to it. But I appreciate you guys for following along, and I hope these tips helped you out in some way. If you're a new backpacker, just take the whole experience and enjoy it, man. Don't get too high expectations at first. Backpacking is a process. I know on its simplest form, what is backpacking? It is walking and it is sleeping. That's it. That's the 2 parts of backpacking. But it's actually a little more complicated whenever you get down to the little nuances of things. And these tips, I hope, helped you out in some way. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you following along. Thanks for watching my channel, Ultralight Outdoors, and I will see you next time.